Welcome back to more Let's Play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Let's start exploring the inverted castle. Now, as you might expect, the inverted castle is pretty much a one-to-one recreation of the original castle. Nothing of it is too different, though there are a couple rooms that are shaped a little differently. If you remember the underground cavern, that has a couple differences in it. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same castle you've been exploring for pretty much hours at this point. Just expect a lot harder enemies. So, the first goal for today is, well, apparently collecting a ton of items and HP increases. But what we're actually going to be after is getting Alucard prepared to fight everything. Because let me tell you, the game gets hard now. If you thought anything in the base game was hard, oh boy, you haven't seen anything yet. And of course, with a whole new castle layout, it means you got a whole new map to fill out. So, it shouldn't be anything too difficult, but you're still going to need to pay attention and make sure you know what you're doing. Still, it shouldn't be the hardest thing. After all, you've already explored the normal castle, so this one shouldn't be any more difficult. At least, in terms of pure exploration. For fighting, yeah, you're gonna be suffering a little. Things are tough, but hey, that's okay. Otherwise, pretty much business as usual. I will say, too, it is really cool that this game pulls the whole, hey, you're not even halfway through it yet. It's one of those games that I feel like you get to the end and you're like, man, I wish there was more. And wouldn't you know it, there is. So, I always appreciated that. Otherwise, a lot of item placements are going to be pretty darn similar to what you know and are used to. Most of the boss rooms will still contain bosses, albeit different ones, so on and so forth. It's a pretty straightforward thing here. Though, what isn't so straightforward is your overall goal. Obviously, you're here to defeat Shaft and Dracula. That we know. But how do you do that? Well, in Castlevania 2, of all games, the main character of that, Simon Belmont, has to go around collecting pieces of Dracula in order to rebuild him and kill him. We are now doing a similar thing. We're looking for the pieces of Dracula to put them together and put them down. Now, for every single piece you find, a total of which there are 5, you will receive a permanent boost to one of your stats. They range from plus attack to intelligence, all sorts of things. So, as you explore more, you're certainly going to be rewarded, which was already evident in the original castle. So, pretty much, most of today is just going to be getting our bearings, getting some good equipment, and making sure we're prepared, because let me tell you, there are some tough bosses coming up. Now, most of the ideology for exploring the castle is largely the same. Same with boss fights. They're all over the place, but it's nothing you should struggle too much with. Otherwise, let's show off that cross. Yeah. I mean, hey, it looks good when Richter did it, so we'll take a page out of his book. After all, he whooped us, so it's only fitting we beat him. And here is the first piece of Dracula. The Ring of Vlad, which doesn't really make sense as being a piece of him, but trust me, it is. It gives you plus 10 int, one of 5 treasures. So yeah, now you effectively know what you're after. And man, what awesome music. So if I were you, stay on guard. There's not going to be a lot of things in this castle that are going to comfort you or hold your hand. Still, if you have the Holy Sword, you should be pretty well prepared for this stuff. So lucky for us, we were diligent and got 100% of the original castle, which makes exploring this way easier. Plus, too, you still have all your levels, spells, and transformations, so you can go anywhere in the castle pretty much right away. It's super cool. So, me exploring the castle might be quite different than how you would approach it. Some people who know the game better than I go for certain relics first, go for certain items, and while I am going to go for a specific item, it's going to require a bit of farming. This is one of the only times in the game that I ever go out of my way to farm a weapon or item, and it's pretty warranted. It's kind of up and away the best weapon in the game, so I figure I kind of want to show that off and use it, because it's going to make the rest of our playthrough way easier. And plus, it'll speed things up quite a bit. Because, I mean, let's be honest. As cool as the novelty of the inverted castle is, it's still the same castle. The colors are a little different. There's some different enemies all around the place. I mean, you get the idea. Still, it is cool. So, can't say I, blame anyone for really enjoying this, because heck, I enjoy it. Otherwise, overall, we want to make our way to the library first. It's not very open-ended as an area, so I feel getting there is a pretty good starting goal, and it'll get us the ability to farm the ultimate weapon. So, I think it's a pretty great first area to go to, plus it's pretty darn close, all things considered. So, I figure that's where we'll head. Now, otherwise, some rooms are still pretty similar and have familiar enemies, like the clock tower. Don't get used to this, though. Not every area, really anything past this, isn't going to have enemies that you're used to. Some areas will have similar enemies, like if there was, say, fleamen in the original castle, there might be armored fleamen, or if there was some sort of little ghost, there's a new enemy that's similar. So, you might have a sense of familiarity, but past that, it's going to be pretty difficult. I mean, heck, look at this. Every Medusa head is now one of the stone-inducing ones. All of the flying enemies, are instead of harpies, are now the cloaked armors. It's pretty intense. Now, luckily, all of the puzzles that were in the original castle are the same. So if you knew how to find and open every door, then you're good to go. My goodness. Yeah, some of this stuff gets pretty darn intense. Though, I would also like to remind you, you should have the walk armor at this point in the game, which means that with it, you should be able to get yourself a really nice defense boost. So, if you're ever in a pinch, just throw it on, and you should be good to go. I'm gonna not use it out of principle of it just being up and away so powerful. Oh my goodness. This room is terrible. This is quite the traditional Castlevania clock tower. But, it's alright. I say it's alright. It's not. Come on. Oh, my goodness. This is probably, like, my least favorite room in the game. It is brutal. But, luckily, you only have to do it once. Come on. There we go. Alright, got it. Click. Beautiful. Oh, my gosh. Now, luckily, if you're ever in a pinch, you can always use Soul Steal or other useful spells. So, don't worry about that. There we go. Awesome. I'm happy that that one was quick. Now let's go back in here and get turned to stone immediately. Perfect. Man, I tell you. These enemies are obnoxious. They're not tough in the traditional sense of, oh, they, have crazy attacks or do a ton of damage. It's just they're annoying in the fact that they freeze you constantly. But again, it helps that you know what you're dealing with. You've seen them before, you know how to fight them and deal with them. Ah, gosh, alright, this one's tricky. Wait for the Medusa heads. There we go. Alright, that should be every switch. It wasn't. Uh-oh. So we didn't miss one down here, did we? I don't believe we did. Okay. Unless maybe this one just didn't click. I thought it did, but I could be wrong. Oh, gosh. Sorry that I'm not talking too much. I'm really concentrating on not dying. Because, oh my gosh, is this just a mess. It still didn't open. Uh-oh. That means we messed something up in this room. Which is really bad. Of all the times to mess the combination up, this is not it. Alright. These Medusa heads are terrible. Alright. My goodness. We are playing dangerous game. We're dead. So yeah. The inverted castle is seriously no joke. Be careful. Well, I'm gonna re-explore those rooms and I'll meet you back. So, see ya. Alright, there we go. Finally redid all this, and for whatever reason, this time the switch worked. Don't know why it didn't work the first time, but oh well. And we get a diamond, a life apple, and the sunstone. Very useful. I don't think I ever went over what the sun and moonstones do, but you can guess. They give you a whole bunch of stat increases based on what time of day it is. So if it was, after sunrise, well, stats would go up. If it was after sunset, stats go up, depending on what you're wearing. It can be pretty darn useful, and to be honest, seeing as I'm playing at nighttime, let's equip the moonstone and sacrifice some of our damage, just so that way we stop taking nearly as much damage. Because frankly, this is the point in the game where defense really starts to matter. So, although it might take a hit or two more to kill an enemy, taking no damage rather than taking, 30s, 40s, or 50s worth of damage, it's night and day difference. Oh my gosh. Still, being able to one-shot enemies is useful, so it's kind of a trade-off. Luckily, once we make it to the library, we should be able to get the, have the chance to farm the ultimate weapon, which will help us out greatly. So, once that happens, we should be good. We just gotta make it there, which is a trial in and of itself, as you saw. Still, luckily, we're pretty darn close, so I'm not terribly worried, but gotta make sure we fill out that map. After all, we took the journey to fill out the entire base castle, so it'd be a waste not to fill this one out. Oh, our favorite knight. Good old Valhalla Knights, I tell ya. I never like seeing them, but look at that. The first piece of Alucard's starting equipment. And let me tell you, the Dragon Helm is amazing. It's probably the best helmet in the game, bar none, just because of its effect of cutting enemy defense. That is such a powerful effect that, frankly, I couldn't see myself taking this helmet off. Although we may not have as much attack from taking the Ares ring off, the Dragon Helmet is going to seriously boost our damage. So, I like having it. And it's also one of the reasons that I like going this way first. Plus, you get a bunch of other really nice items. So, although they may not be things we will ultimately use, the dragon helmet is certainly something we will. Also, is it even called that? Yes, it is. Okay. I don't know why I thought it wasn't for a minute. I was like, wait a minute. Am I referring to this thing wrong? No. As you can see, the bridge is still unbroken in this version of the castle. Regardless of if you broke it or not, it actually would still be that way. So, you breaking it doesn't actually have any bearing on this, which is kind of cool. Alright, get that map percentage. Obviously, you can use the bat and dog to speed things up here. And then, yeah, here's some nice little items. Karma coin, something I'll never use. And a magic missile, which I also will never use. I'm certain that these items could actually be really useful if you did use them correctly. But I've never had the need or felt the need to use them. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on a really good item. Still, thank goodness we made it. Ah, good old outer wall. Now, something that does make me a little sad is that the big moon isn't there anymore. Kind of a shame, but man, is it great seeing a save point. Thank goodness. Now, at this point in the game, speaking of the library, because we have journeyed to the inverted castle, the librarian will have a new item that he can drop for you if you bounce into him from below. That item is Dracula's Tunic, which is a phenomenal piece of equipment. It has really good defense, helps boost your damage, and I think has some other hidden effects that I don't remember off the top of my head. Point is, it is really good, and it's probably worth going back to get. Though, admittedly, it's so darn powerful that I don't think I'll mind challenging myself without it for a bit. Now look, evidently I might regret this decision when I get killed several times, but for now, I think it'll be fine. Besides, if we have the ultimate weapon, well, defense won't matter too much, will it? If we just kill our enemies. Ow. At least, that's what I'm hoping and telling myself. I might be horribly wrong and regret my words. We will see. And as much as I would love to finish exploring this area right now, getting to the library and getting the ultimate weapon is kind of just priority number one. Which, lucky for us, we're right here. And man, I love the songs that replace some of the older ones. They're so good. Excuse me, Mr. Lion. Now, see that ghost that just flew by? He is what drops the ultimate weapon, the humble shmoo. So what I like to do, sit right here and start farming them. This is where I would recommend equipping your Ring of Arcana if you haven't already. And if we have the damage for it, although this seems a little wrong, let's try equipping, if I can find the gosh darn sword, the Alucard sword and shield. There it is. Because if we can kill them in one hit and have plus 30 to our luck, that would be really good. So let's see. Ooh, we cannot one-hit kill them. Yeah. But if we equip the Ring of Ares, that might be enough. It is. Perfect. So now, you basically just go back and forth till he drops a sword. This might take a little while, but I think on average it takes about, 5 minutes or so. So, worst case, if he doesn't drop it in the next couple kills, I'll just fast forward until he does. So otherwise, I'll see you then. Now, one big nice thing about farming these little ghosties, the shmoos, is that you are going to get some fairly good EXP, which, to be honest, I've not really talked about leveling up all that much, just because it's kind of a given, and in most games, leveling up is, beneficial and nice. It just so happens that in this game, leveling early isn't a super big deal, so much as having good equipment is. And while that's still pretty true here in the inverted castle, every little bit you can get really does help and add up. So, taking the time to farm this weapon and actually, get some levels and EXP isn't a bad idea. Now, I wouldn't be farming this if it was just for experience. There are several enemies that are probably much better for EXP gain, but it has the added bonus of, hey, he has the ultimate weapon, and we want to get some EXP while we're at it. So, may as well knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, eh? Now, sometimes, like I said, it can take a little while for this guy to drop it. I think it's a 1 in... I think it's 522 chance to drop it or something. We may have seen a couple of them drop at this point. He drops ramen as well. So not only are you getting EXP, you get a chance to get the ultimate weapon in the game, but you can get some healing items out of him too. So it's a pretty multifaceted farm that you can do almost right away from starting the inverted castle. So, although it might be a bit of a pain, I think it is actually worth doing, even if it may not be the most fun and interesting thing in the game. It's something that I have started doing since I've repeated playthroughs on the game. But the first time I actually played the game, I had no idea what this weapon was. And I think on one of the first or second ones that I killed, it dropped it naturally, and so I just found the sword and was like, oh, this is cool. I equipped it, and I never looked back. Now, notably, it's not that it's, just a personal favorite of mine. Even the internet kind of collectively agrees that the weapon this thing drops is just OP. In fact, it's so overpowered and notable that in any game that's featured it since, or at least something that is equivalent to it, it has been drastically nerfed to the point of doing at most maybe like 10 or 20 damage a hit. So, you'll understand once we actually get it and show it off. Oh, almost messed up, but there it is. The almighty Chrysogrim, or as I first called it, the Chrysogrim. So, oh boy, the Chrysogrim, countless blades dice enemy. Now, let's unequip all the Alucard gear, because we just do not need the item finding luck. Perfect. We'll equip probably the Platinum Mail. Get rid of the Ring of Ares. Equip the Moonstone. Perfect. And yeah, we'll leave the Ring of Arcana. Why not? So, what makes the Chrysogrim so good? Well, when you attack, you fire off 4 different blades. Now, seems pretty good, right? Look at that damage. This weapon is insane. And there's another. Well, ironic. But the other big thing that makes this weapon so powerful, you can move while attacking. This makes the weapon so powerful, because now everything in your way isn't even a challenge. It does feel a little cheap using this thing. I'm not going to lie. But frankly, with some of the bosses that are featured later and how difficult things get, you're going to want this power. So, I don't feel bad at all. If anything, I am rather happy that this is the weapon we now have. And hey, we even have 2 of them. So, something you could do if you really want. What happens if you equip 2 of them? Well, with 2, you can fire out even more attacks. And yes, you can walk with this. So if you can mash both buttons and walk, you can fire out so many attacks. It is completely overkill. You do not need that kind of damage. But it is pretty awesome. So, let's save our game, and now, the rest of the castle is free for us to explore. We should have pretty much no more troubles now that we have the good old Chrysogrim. And let me tell you, unfortunately, this just invalidates every other weapon in the game. There is only one exception to this, and ironically, it's not even a weapon. So, once we obtain that, I'll show it off, because it is insane how powerful it is. But for now, and pretty much the rest of the playthrough, get used to seeing the good old Chrysogrim. It is going to be our bread and butter. For good reason, too. But because of this weapon, you can get through the inverted castle so quickly. It took me, what, maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes to farm it, kind of like I said, and then we got a second one on top of it by complete accident. It is completely worth your time to go out of your way to get this thing. So, I think it's quite justified. And for anyone who never knew this sword existed or who's never tried it, I mean, let what's on screen speak for itself. It is incredibly powerful. Now, another cute little detail I want to mention, not about the Chrysogrim, but about this area, is that we're fighting a lion, a scarecrow, and a Tin Man. They're the Wizard of Oz cast, which I think is kind of adorable. Otherwise, man, I did a really poor job of filling in the map, huh? Well, that's fine. We can go fix that up. Some of the map tiles in the inverted castle are an utter pain to fill in. Sometimes you're going to have to use the bat or even the dog to get into some of those really weird, narrow areas that you may not have originally thought to try to get into with them. It's kind of weird. So, if you see a place that you just can't seem to fill in with normal Alucard or, you know, the gravity boots or something, try turning into the dog or bat and you would be surprised just how many times that actually works. In fact, if you remember earlier in the caves, I mentioned that the dog can swim, which is required to fill in the map later on, specifically in those caves in which you can swim. This is because, for whatever reason, they added extra map tiles in the, effectively, ceiling now, that only the dog can access by swimming up to for some reason. If you swim or jump to the top of them with Alucard, it won't fill them in. So for some reason, the dog's, I guess, hitbox is a little bigger than normal Alucard's. Somehow, I really don't know the actual programming behind it. I just know that for whatever reason, you gotta be the dog for it to work. So, if you've been struggling to fill in the map, or, you know, you've gotten to that point in the game and you're like, well, how the heck do I do this? Well, that's how. Otherwise, nice boss. Yeah. The Chrysogrim makes work out of pretty much any enemy. But hey, we got a second relic with the Tooth of Vlad, which gives strength plus 10. So all the damage you were already doing, increase it by 10. If you equip the Ring of Ares with this weapon, you're going to shred basically anything in the game in mere seconds, bosses included. To be completely honest, the final boss dies in like 30 seconds to this weapon. It is just ludicrous. I mean, hey, there's a reason that in every single game that the Chrysogrim, or better known as the Volman Way, has been in, that it's been nerfed to nothing. Because frankly, just the effect of being able to attack while moving and keeping full control of Alucard, that's already amazing. So being able to not only move and attack, but being able to, do so much more damage all at once, it's insane. The fact that they kept this weapon in the game and were like, yeah, no, this is cool. This is good. We'll just keep it. I'm a little surprised, to be honest. It is just so good. And I mean, for me, it's pretty much the quintessential Castlevania Symphony of the Night weapon. When I think of this game, this is the weapon I think of. And sure, the Alucard stuff is really good. It's cool, it's iconic, but nothing beats the damage of the good old Chrysogrim. I mean, seriously, it is just so good. Like I said, if you've never tried it, give it a shot. Or, I mean, if you don't want to try it because it is so good, I can't say I blame you. It does make the game incredibly easy. But to be fair, even without it, the game already isn't all that hard. So, I just like to have fun with it. Besides, you are going through the reverse castle, so it's nothing you haven't seen before. Or at least, you've seen it before, but now it's familiar? I don't know, it's kind of weird to describe, but... Anyways, point is, I love the weapon. I'm going to stop gushing about it and focus on just getting through the castle. Also, hello, beam skeletons. Otherwise, let's see here. Of course, I missed one tile. Ugh, I always do that. Still, gotta make sure we go get it. Because frankly, I don't think we're ever really gonna come back to this area. Pretty much, the inverted castle is a one-stop shop. You can get everything in pretty much one go without revisiting any area, pretty much. It's kind of cool for that reason. There we go. Ow. I tell you, even this far into the game, good old Jack-o'-bones still gets me. Not that we've seen him earlier, but you get the idea. He has a very simple projectile, and yeah, I still get hit by it. No shame in it. And I gotta stop using the bat for that. That's really what Mist is good for. I find that Mist, once you get the power of it and can stay in it for a really long time, it's a lot more convenient than the bat, just by virtue of being more maneuverable. And then otherwise, I mean, most rooms like this, because they're now, not slanted, but because the ceilings aren't flat surfaces, it just becomes a lot quicker to have Alucard use Wing Smash to get through them. So, although it may not be the most entertaining, using the Bible, Wing Smashing through stuff, hey, gets the job done. When you do it correctly, my goodness. Perfect. And yeah, look at this. Sneaky floor traps. I mean, look, it is Dracula's castle after all. It does want you dead. So, it makes sense they would put things like this in just about every area. Otherwise, whoop, careful there. Pesky floor traps. Plus, too, man, I said I was going to stop talking about the Volman Way or the Chrysogrim, but not only is it, super good for attacking, you can move while doing it, it has such a massive hitbox. I think it's one of, if not the longest forward weapon, and it attacks, pretty much the entire size of Alucard, so you basically can't miss the floor or walls or ceilings with it if you're trying to find hidden areas. It's just so darn good. Otherwise, let's see. That's what I've been looking for. Get our good old pocket watch back. Perfect. At this point, we pretty much have our final loadout. I mean, once we get some better armor or something, we'll equip it, sure, but in terms of the weapon and helmet, we're good to go. To be honest, once we find it, I'll probably equip the Alucard mail. It is still a really good piece of equipment. Oh, really? My stopwatch. Thank you. And I know very specifically I am not going to the caves right now. I will go back and get to them. If I don't die, oh my gosh. No, that's not what I want. There we go. get plenty of healing. And yeah, see, even some enemies still take quite a bit of punishment to get through. So, don't underestimate things just because you have the ultimate sword. You can seriously get messed up fast. Come on, guy. There we go. So yeah, keep it in mind. Otherwise, while we're here, may as well explore these little side rooms. Nothing incredibly worthwhile, but hey, still got to do it for that map completion, so why not? Otherwise, we'll go over here, seeing as we actually got here on time. Very nice. And this takes us where? To Olrox's quarters? Yeah. To be honest, I won't explore this right now. This is probably going to be the final area we go to. So, we'll be back there later. For now, I want to go actually down the middle area and grab all the items. And then go underground. And yeah, if you thought that one room earlier in the game was pretty good, you now have every single sub-weapon at your disposal at any time. This clock room is pretty much your quintessential hub. You need something? Come back here. It's kind of nice. Now, admittedly, as you saw earlier, it's kind of sad there's no shop here. I do kind of wish there was an inverted librarian. I think that would have been hilarious, but I can understand why they didn't put that in here, so oh well. Otherwise, let's backtrack to the cave if I can do my inputs correctly. Again, it's so funny because it's like I never change how I'm pressing the buttons, or well, the control stick in this case. Sometimes it just doesn't want to work. My goodness. There we go. Woo. Can I please have a soul steal? Nope, I can have a dark metamorphosis. Really? Again, this is what I get for tilting my stick the way I do. There we go. Perfect. Woo. And I jump right into the blade again. And take fire damage. You know, I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. Oh, I'll meet you back. Well, on the way back, we got a new weapon from that skeleton there. The Terminus Est. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen this weapon. Poisoned Executioner's Sword. Huh. Pretty cool. Not as good as the Chrysogrim, but pretty cool. Also did not mean to input that. Anyways, I'll meet you back at the clock room. Alright, well, I got so caught up and excited that we got the Chrysogrim, I totally forgot to continue exploring the library here. So you know what? I think it is for the best I actually played poorly and died there, ironically. Because otherwise, I would have totally forgot to explore this little area of the library. So, we'll instead finish this up, and then, probably come next episode, we'll go explore the caves. I think that's a good idea. And still, there's not a whole lot here, but still, may as well do it now, just because we're right here. This way we won't have to ever come back. So again, sometimes dying can be a good thing, ironically. May not seem intuitive, but, well, that's just how it is with games sometimes. Sorry there, Tin Man. Plus, too, while we're here, we get to enjoy more of this great music, which I know is a little hard to hear with all the, enemies being loud and Alucard swinging the Chrysogrim. But still, man, is the music so good. Hello, Tin Man. And yeah, no boss fight here. Most of the areas where you fought lesser bosses usually don't have anything. Whereas, like, the Doppelganger had, the, creature, and then, I guess the one lesser demon had a fight for whatever reason. Don't know why. Also, the Starlight. Where do you... Strengthens power of cross. Well, I never used the cross, so, maybe it's really good? I wouldn't know. I, don't ever use it. So, oh well. Still, we finished exploring over here, so should be all good. Now that I, didn't forget to come do it, my goodness. Again, weirdly enough, sometimes dying can be a good thing. It helps you remember stuff that you otherwise may have forgotten. So, as goofy as it was, it ended up helping us, and we got a lunch A out of the deal. Sure. Oh, why not? So, next time we play Castlevania Symphony of the Night, hopefully I won't die as much, and we'll get a little bit more done. Still, 2 relics of Vlad, the ultimate sword in the game, and Alucard's helmet? I think that's a pretty darn good start to the inverted castle. Next time, we'll explore the caves. As always, I'm Brad. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.